Hello, this is Mr. Cadorette, your high school librarian. I'm here to give you some support and show you some ways to do some research to be successful at Mrs. Hesch's Fertile Crescent Civilization Project. If you have any questions about this or any other questions about finding stuff in the future, remember you can always reach me at mcadorette@waterfordschools.org. So I want to show you a few things that I've done before we get into the actual research part. These are the choices of the different civilizations that Mrs. Hesch will be assigning you. And depending upon which one you get, here's a few things to keep in mind. Number one, the Sumerians. They are the very earliest civilization that we know of in the Mesopotamia and one of the earliest civilization, period. So you may not find specific articles on Sumer, but if you find an article or a piece of research on Mesopotamia, Sumer will be in the first couple of paragraphs, so you can find your information there. Also, if you get assigned the Chaldeans, there are 21st century people that identify themselves as Chaldeans, so be aware that you don't want to do your research based upon that information. A better way to search for the Chaldeans might be to search New or Neo-Babylonians. And Neo is just a fancy way of saying new. Likewise, there are 21st century people who identify themselves as Persians. So if you look up Persia, you may well find someplace in the Middle East, but it's modern day. Maybe a better way to search would be to search the Achaemenid Empire. And in regards to what Mrs. Hesch requires for this project, so let's look at a couple of these things and let's talk about them in terms of research. A map. For some groups, especially with Sumer, you may not find an actual map of Sumer. You may find a map of the Mediterranean with a rough idea of where the Sumerian borders were. So remember, this was a long time ago. We have no Google Maps for this. Time period, remember it's BCE, before the Common Era. Also, it would be very common to see the abbreviation CA, meaning circa, because it means about, because we don't know exactly when these civilizations began or when exactly they ended. In terms of key figures, you're probably just going to get men and probably just kings. There might be an astrologer or two that you can find. Astrology was a very important bit of science at that point. So otherwise, keep that in mind. It's probably only going to be men and probably only kings. Significant events and contributions. This was a long time ago, so a significant event could be something like the development of writing, the development of a system of laws, or the invention of the wheel. Fairly basic stuff. And then reasons for decline. If you go looking for a reasons for decline article or piece of information, you'll probably be disappointed. But if you have an article on your civilization, you could probably find the reasons for decline in the last 2 or 3 paragraphs. Towards the end of the story is the end of the story for the civilization. And then finally, keep your eyes peeled for what Ms. Hesch says is other notes of interest. If you find anything strange, odd, or interesting, make certain to make a note of it. Teachers always like when you find something unexpected. All right, so at the top of this page, I have a link here to the library database page, and that'll take us here. Databases are a great way to do research, and but you need to understand how they work. Google will give you back 1 million results. and that's probably more than you need. The databases will more likely give you stuff that's going to be verifiable, good information, and it comes with a few other tools that are really useful for research. So the best databases are the ones that get you your information. I'm going to show you two of them today, or two different systems. Before we get into that, though, you should know that in school, you can just click on these things and they will open up. But if you're at home, you'll need a password. And you can see the passwords are right here. It's a simple Google Doc. If you're logged in to your school Google account, then you can get to this. And we're only really using these first two. But in school, you can just click on them. And the first one up top here is the company is called ProQuest. And you can see that we have access to 3 different databases, but I would just use the one on the far left called eLibrary. And it gets you here. I want you to notice something in the upper right-hand corner. It says log out. And you can see underneath there that when I hover there, it shows that I'm logged in. If you want to get all the bells and whistles that the database has, please log in. This one to the left is for Microsoft products, but we use Google products. So just log in there. And then you have this big empty box. So when you're looking at this big empty box, I would first look at any notes that Mrs. Hesh gave you about your civilization or any information from your textbook. Let's start off with something very simple and very broad. So I start typing in Mesopotamia, and I always make my first search as broad as possible. So this is a nice thing. I just typed in Mesopotamia, and I got this. There's a whole bunch of articles down here. Oh, there's related topics. That's really good. So there's Babylonia. Let's see. So there's a few other topics down here that might be useful. But let's go back up to this one. Open this up. So this has a few things going on for it. Number one, it has some images. Over here, you can see here some articles on ancient Mesopotamia. A little bit further down, I got some maps. Here's a map right here, the colonization of Mesopotamia. And I want you to notice a few things on this page. First of all, I can save this as a PDF, but I can also save it to the cloud. I can save it to my Google Drive because I logged in that upper right-hand corner. So I can just go there. It's going to take a second to load. And what that means is that I can share that very easily with my other people in my project. So if I go here, here's my Google Drive. And there's my map. And if I go here, it should bring me right back. Perfect. Here's the PDF. And here's something that I mentioned earlier on. So here is this purple line. It says earliest Sumerian settlement. That may be the best you can do for a map of Sumer. All right. Let's go back and look again at some of these other things here. Let's look at one of these articles. It's called Ancient Mesopotamia. And over here on the right, again, save to PDF, save to cloud. Here is a citation. So this will be in the last slide of your presentation. So I can copy this. I can send it to Noodle Tools if you're using Noodle Tools. I can copy it this way. But my citation is already done. So that's a great help. All right, let's go back and look at some other databases. I'm back on the database page. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And I'm going to try Gale Cengage. All right, you can see that Gale has a whole bunch of different databases. Biography, computer science, criminal justice, environmental studies. We're going to scroll down to the very bottom. And here we have world history. Okay, again, we have a big empty box over here. Let's see what happens. Oh, this is nice. I like this. That in bold means good things. So here's a whole page on ancient Mesopotamia. And it's telling me all the different types of content that this page has. So they have put, just like the other database, they have put a whole bunch of different things underneath this heading of ancient Mesopotamia. And you can see that there are images over here. I can click on that. So here's some stuff from Akkad, from Sumer, a whole bunch of different things. This isn't the whole of it, though. So if we start searching some of the other civilizations, and in fact, let's try this Persian synonym that I gave you and see what happens. Oh, we were right there. Okay. So I typed in Achaemenid Empire. There's a whole bunch of reference works. There's biographies. Again, there's images. And one thing that I like about this website more than I like about the other one, this database, is that there's a whole bunch of ways over here on the right-hand side to narrow things down. So if I look under subjects, here's a couple of kings. Here's an early religion, Zoroastrianism, and ancient cities, the Assyrians. So that helps a great deal to narrow things down. And again, just like in the other one, so here it is. It says sign in with Google up here in the upper right-hand corner. That just takes a moment. I'm signed in when it says sign in and it has my name next to it. And, oh, okay. The Achaemenid Dynasty. So here's an article that I'm looking at that might be really useful. Remember that a dynasty is a family, a ruling family. So father, son, father, son, father, son, all of the kings that ruled Persia under one family. And there's a couple of things going on here. Number one, up top, it says cite. I can see the citation, so I can put that on the last page of my presentation. Little paper airplane icon. I can send that to Google Drive. A little bit further down, I can see more like this and related subjects. So that's helping me out. I may want to take a second to look at those things because I want to see what else the database suggests for me to make my life a little bit easier. So this article is very short, and it may not give me everything, but it does have a couple of things that I like. So I could click on Alexander the Great. That might help me out. And over here, there's, as I said, there's all these other links that I can go to. There's the citation again. That's really helpful. All right. So let's go back to where we started. Here's the link to get to those databases. And let me just reinforce the reason that you want to try a database rather than Google is like the difference between CBS and Netflix. If you go to CBS, you're going to get um, a lot of commercials. You're not going to know whether the stuff is good or not. You'll get a lot of crap programming. But if you go to Netflix and you pay a little bit of money, you're more likely to get better stuff quicker, what you need. And those are the databases. I pay for the databases up front. There are no ads. There's no one trying to sell me anything. It's just information. So we want you to get used to using the databases. Remember, if you have any questions, email me. I'm happy to help out with your research. Hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you for listening.